Today I want to compare the PPS M1 and kind of the M2 against the Honor Guard from Honor Defense. Now, the reason why I'm doing this comparison, I know there's a lot of people that love Walther that are just like, how can you compare this to this little company, this big company that's been doing this for so long, yada, 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 yada. How are you doing this? Well, the how is I'm doing it with a camera, but the reason why is because I was personally trying to decide for this summer which one of these I'm going to carry. I have not put that many rounds through this pistol, so I was automatically going to go to it, but I also saw the Honor Guard, and every time I shoot it, I enjoy it. So I really had to analyze it, so I'm going to kind of take you through, my reasoning in this, and it goes down to an actual comparison like I would do on video, so I thought, why not? So anyways, now, with both of these, you have a lot of similarities, and you have some things that really set the other apart from one apart from the other. So, anyways, to start out, let's go ahead and look at the grip. We all know that the Walther PPS, both the 1 and 2, they have pretty good grips, right? They're very ergonomic. They're very slim pistols. The Honor Guard is very much the same. They have very good grips, and you do have backstrap options, at least with the PPS M1 as you do with the Honor Guard. You get two options. You get flat or fat, and then you get flat or fat with both. So the upper hand on this one, even over the M2, is that this texturing is very aggressive. Once you grab it, it's on you. And as you can see, I have not really cleaned this one. This thing has gotten nasty. So, yeah, I've been continually testing it on purpose. I have not been cleaning off the grip. I want to see if it at all ever loses that good grip, and so far it hasn't. And with the PPS, I like how aggressive this texturing is. I'm not really into the PPS M2. It just feels like it's a lot more slick. It may feel a little more ergonomic, but it doesn't feel like you actually can get a good hold of it when you have sweaty hands. And that really led me to favor the Honor Guard. So also with that, a lot of people would say, well, with the M1 and the M2, you get this pinky extension for 7 rounds versus this one, your pinky finger hangs off. And my thought is, you got a small gun. You're obviously getting the small gun for its concealability. Why do you care about if your pinky finger is on it? Like, the point is concealability. You're gonna sacrifice something. So here's the thing. This is about the same size as this one, 7 rounds. And if I was to put the 8-rounder in, it would be the same size as this 7-rounder. So, or well, relatively. So really, it just comes down to this is a better size. Now, moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the controls. So you have the one slide stop right here. It can actually act as a slide release as well. You can see that nice generous shelf that you get right there. So that'll work really well if you wanted to treat it as a slide release. This, ambidextrous. All the controls are ambidextrous. On here, you have the paddle release. I like the paddle release. If you have the M2, I believe it's only reversible. So I like that everything's ambidextrous. I actually do use the right side, even though I'm right-handed. I just use my middle finger and I eject the magazine. So I like that. As far as the slide stop's concerned, I don't really use the slide stop as a slide release anyways. So for the most part, except on a select few guns. So I'm not really losing anything by the fact that I can't really release a slide with this very unobtrusive. You can't even see the slide stop levers. It's so unobtrusive. I don't really even see the need to use it as a slide release, so it's not something I would hold against it or give credit to for it to be ambidextrous. But if you like the option, the PPS is going to be your baby. If you don't care, the Honor Guard might be, your thing. But also, we have the option of a safety here. You can get a pistol without the safety, or you can get it without. If you have it without or with, you can send it back to the manufacturer to get it taken off or have one put on. But you have to send it back because they're not just going to send you one. They don't want you tinkering with the stuff. And I believe that's most manufacturers will do that for depending on the gun. So anyways, The next thing is triggers. So with the triggers, I would say the trigger pull weight is about the same. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know that I recently got the new springs for the trigger for the Honor Guard. That was because the thing in the first generations, the springs were not really of a weight that was making it drop safe, but pretty much all the pistols that are current production are within like the last year or more are reliable. There's been a lot of videos testing it. So most of the testing where it failed, it was all old generation guns, kind of like mine. But I asked them for new springs and they were happy to send it for free, and I was able to do it myself. But don't blame them if you can't put it back together, because it can be tricky somewhat. But I don't advise it if you're not technically proficient with, if you're not mechanically sound, I guess you could say, if you're not a good tinker. So basically I would say the trigger pulls are the same. The difference is you have a trigger safety here, and it's kind of like a Glock trigger here, where you pull the trigger and it stays to the rear. So with this one, you pull the trigger and it goes back kind of like an M&P. So there's no trigger safety there. It's kind of like the 320. But I don't really see necessarily an advantage to one or the other. I think they're basically on the same playing field, if you will. They're basically the same, so I don't give credit to one or the other. So next thing is sights. Now the Walther PPS does, you can get sights for it, and it is what it is. You do have some options. I'm not sure of the full spectrum, but with the Honor Guard, you're using Glock 43, Glock 42 sights, so you have a wide variety of options out there. Now, if we're just discussing the stock sights, Walther, notorious for having a wide open rear sight and being able to see that front sight. That's what I would call combat sights, where it's wide open, you can see your front sight, you can get accountability of it. Not focus on it, get accountability of it when you're trying to shoot. So with this Honor Guard, you can see that it's pretty well wide open. It's a U, and then you get your orange front dot, and then also on the rear sight you have this ledge, and then it swoops back instead of the Novak, which is more designed to protect it from snagging when you're holstering or whatever. I think this is a lot better because it swooped backwards, so when you're drawing it doesn't snag, because I've actually had issues with pistols that snag on garments and stuff like that. Little elastic bands that are designed for tightening coats and stuff. Yeah, I've had issues with that. So anyways, I think that the Honor Guard has an advantage there. You can find Glock sights for way less than you'd be able to find Walther sights. And I don't know if I don't think it's easier to switch these out compared to these, but it's less expensive. Let's just put it that way. So I would give the advantage to the Honor Guard, at least from my perspective. So with all that said, here on the M1 you have an accessory rail. On the M2 you do not. Now on the Honor Guard, if you go to the 3.8 inch barrel and you do the conversion for like $250, you can get a frame that has an accessory rail, and you can have a 3.8 inch barrel. Now personally, on a gun this size, I don't really see a need for myself to put a light on there. There are some people that do. If you go with the M2 PPS, you're going to lose that option. But with the M1, you do have that option. I'm not going to, lecture somebody on one way or the other. That's just the facts of it. You have options with this one and this one. So, whatever. But pistols, as they are right now, this one would have the advantage, obviously. So next thing I want to get to is shootability. So really this comes down to recoil. Now, me and my wife and plenty of other people have shot these two pistols side by side, and I actually found that the Honor Guard has the same, if not better, recoil as far as it's lower, I would say, than the PPS. So this gun, smaller, has a lower recoil than this pistol that's bigger. That's a very interesting little thing to come upon if you're kind of in my position, because one of the things that I loved about this pistol is that, yes, it's a little bit bigger, but it's not really breaking that size category, and it's getting very little recoil. You're getting very little recoil for what you're handling. The Honor Guard kind of changed that, and it's kind of a shame that this pistol isn't really given as much credit, because I think that this pistol really has a lot of merit, and especially in the way that it's built and the options that you have. It's completely modular. This isn't, and you get a lot of options if you want. And I am looking at getting the 3.8-inch barrel on this in the future, but really what it came down to was, how's the recoil on either of them? Because let's face it, that does actually play a factor when you're trying to decide between two carry pistols. Some people may not care, but for the most part, we do care. And it's not, some being weak or whatever is a factor to it. It's just like, well, do I really need? You're going to take every little advantage that you can that you don't have to pay for, right? So when you have 10 pistols, you're going to find out which one you shoot better. And if it doesn't recoil, if it's not as punishing to shoot, even if it's just a little bit, you're going to want the pistol that's less punishing to shoot, right? So, with all that said and done, I mean, you might choose caliber over, other factors, or, whatever, the sight picture, the trigger pull, the grip, or whatever, or the options you have. But really what it came down for me was, do I really get an advantage over this pistol with this one? Does this one still have less recoil than this pistol? And the answer is no. So naturally, I have floated to choosing the Honor Guard. So for summer, it's going to be the Honor Guard. Doesn't mean that the PPS is just getting tossed out and I'm selling it. Heck no, I keep my Walthers. I love my Walthers. It's going to still see holster time. But as a dedicated carry firearm, I would say the Honor Guard is a good single stack 9mm to choose from the long list of single stack 9mm on the market. So with all that said, thanks a lot for watching. Go ahead and leave your comments below, and you guys have a good one.